Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a second chance. My name is Philip Jones, kidney transplant recipient.
Hi, everybody. And my name is Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient and founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. If you or you know someone who has kidney disease challenges and needs help with their condition, hit us up at kidneycarecoaches.com.
Awesome, awesome. Well, today we have a very incredible show for you. Um, I've been on this man's show before. We had a great interactive interview when I went on this show. So I'm definitely looking forward to the same today. Vince, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Philip. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're gonna straight into the questions here. Me at the fall, we read your bio, so we know that you had a 12-pound tumor on your kidney. What type of symptoms did you have before finding out you had that tumor?
I was experiencing night sweats. They were bad in that it wasn't like typical sweat. It was more like a slime, so it was very different, like peculiar. The deal on them was they weren't consistent. I had began to notice a change in my body back in January of 2013, and by October near Halloween, I don't recall exactly because I was getting delusional, that would be the length of time that metastasized to 12 pounds.
Mm.
Um, I had gone to see my primary care doctor from February to, I believe it was the end of June. Like, I'd seen him 6 times. So we were running a series of tests, everything except the CT scan. And I would just go off and on of these night sweats. And I believe um, I was experiencing weight loss and fatigue. And so I'd never experienced fatigue before. And I was just kind of initially, because it wasn't regular, it was just kind of in and out. Um, I thought that I was just really wearing down, with stress and so forth. I had a house in San Fernando Valley, a wife and a business, and life collapsed on me. And that calendar year 2013 moved really quickly in that the health declined. I think the level of stress and the situations that played out from that would weigh in, in different ways. Things that I had access to, I didn't have access to anymore. And then life changed, and so did my health. So during that time, the sweats would happen, and the doctor, he basically said I was anemic. And I thought,
Mm.
at the time, I'm 51 years old, and I'm like, 51-year-old males aren't anemic. That's like, there's
Right.
something else going on there. That's like an unusual diagnosis you gave me. And
Right.
we had conducted pretty much, I mean, every type. We did blood work, uh, we all types of X-rays and so forth, but everything but that CT scan. So that's how I would wind up actually going to my workers' comp doctor and collapsing on the street. That eventually in October then took me in for me to find out that that's what that was.
That's wild. So even the X-rays didn't show any of the size of the tumor or nothing like that. It was hidden.
No, apparently the X-ray doesn't pick up that. I guess the different types of X-rays or scans that they perform will pull different areas. It's kind of funny because now where we are in 2022, it almost seems prehistoric that they wouldn't have a scan or a
Right.
typical X-ray, and you're seeing in areas of the medicine that we're really behind. The technology hadn't played in so much this far. But no, it didn't. I mean, he pushed on my area just below my rib cage, and the tumor at that point was so large it felt like I got hit in the groin. So
Mm.
um, he got my attention, and so he's like, "Did that hurt?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then because was for workers' comp, he just sent me out of there. Like, looking back, that I believe he should have told me to go to the doctor or go get scanned.
Right.
and being a second opinion, actually, because it wasn't my PCP. But
Mhm.
so I would go and the workers' comp thing would play out, but in the meantime, I wound up in the hospital where in West Valley, uh, they were basically telling my family, my siblings that came out when they heard the news that I had cancer, to just make me comfortable and take him home. Um, the situation with that was they didn't have the higher equipment. So they did what's called a local scan. So it only took like my abdomen. They asked me where it hurt. So that's where they scanned where I said it hurt. And the tumor was so large that it went outside of the frame of the scan.
Man.
So that's where they were like, well, we don't have the capability to provide an operation or whatever this guy's going to need. So they were prepared to let me stay there to just basically pass within what they were saying, maybe 30 days.
Mm.
So the story rolls over. Then my sister and my brother had come out from Pittsburgh, and if they don't come out, I die in that hospital. So it's explained to them, because at this point I had lost. I was about 225 pounds, and at this point I was about 163.
Whoa.
I'd
Wow.
lost about the first 48 pounds through those night sweats. So it's like, but that really accelerated in that last 3 weeks. It picked up, and then it was like it was just basically eating my flesh. So they get word from the nurse in there that it's like, if you're going to give him a chance, you got to get him out of here, because we can't do anything, but we can't discharge him based on he has a pre-existing condition. So they discharged me, and she says, take him to the nearest hospital. And we asked, what would be best for my condition. And they said either USC or UCLA. So we go from West Valley and San Fernando over to UCLA Wilshire. It's the next closest. So we cut through Topanga Canyon. That was the area I was familiar with. And we got over there. And at that point, I probably only had about a 30-minute window a day where I actually had some energy. The rest of the time I was having the sweats were going, and I was getting shakes where I could not control my body, and I would just shiver literally for hours.
So no
So,
appetite either? No appetite or nothing like
oh
that?
no, I was really in the level of fatigue that I had. It was like it was overcoming me so much that I was just focusing on trying to keep my head.
Right.
I
Right.
knew my body was fading. It was funny because when he came in and told me that I had cancer, and I was like, man, I knew it was something bad. But he's like, look, I mean, he's like, you okay? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, cancer doesn't happen to people like me. That happens to somebody else. So
Right.
he's like looking at me. I just saw a tumor that didn't even fit in my scan. Oh, you definitely have cancer. You have cancer. So he's thinking I'm like completely delusional. This guy's like losing his mind. He's as sick as he can be. And so when we got there, that tumor had taken over. So they took me in. I go to the basement, and the following day, I get a bunch of emergency scans because my vitals were pretty bad at this point. And I'd probably, that 30 days they gave me, a week of it was already spent. So at UCLA Wilshire, the student school, I mean, there was like
Yeah.
3 or 4 sets of eyes looking at you all the time. So it gave me a level of comfort that if they had the ability to save me, these folks could.
Right.
So the first day is all scans. I go in for a CT scan, I get a bone scan, I get an echocardiogram, that like probably 6 or 7 tests, and then I get an MRI, full body. Never had an MRI before, so that whole idea of like somebody was playing a dirty trick, putting me in a chamber where there's trains and high-end equipment, I was like, oh my word, I'm gonna go nuts. That was, I think, an older machine. It took an hour and 45 minutes. So I talk about delusional. They were pulling you out every 20 minutes going, how you doing? How you doing? I was like, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on here.
Right.
But they
Vince,
come back.
Vince, let me ask you something real quick. And for the tumor to grow like that, I'm just using the knowledge that I have. It must have been taking the blood supply from the kidney and it was feeding the tumor. If am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's what we would find out with these
Okay.
scans. So being that they got the full thing, it had clotted basically, and it went up my vena cava, and you said the blood, it was going from my heart. So when they get
Mhm.
the full scan, they're like, he probably does have less than 30 days to live because the tumor was about to suffocate his heart. It was 80%
Right.
blockage of the left ventricle in my heart. So the tumor at that point, while I was losing the weight so quick, was feeding off the blood of my heart. So
Right.
he was like, we could come back in here and you could either suffocate, and or the tumor grows large enough to just stop your heart from beating. So it's like, we know we have limited time. And they would begin to pull a group of doctors together, because at this point now you're talking a double operation. They're going to
Right.
remove my left kidney and my adrenal gland, and then they're going to, what they do, a cut and scrape or a cut and suck procedure of
Mhm.
pulling this encapsulated cancer tumor up off the back of my heart. So I end up getting 12, or it was 8 doctors and then 3 anesthesiologists. So it was 4 cardiologists would perform open heart surgery and take my heart out of my chest for an hour and 25. And then I believe the oncologist removed my left kidney first, since that was the source of the tumor. So the oncologists go in, and I mean, 12 hours later, I mean, and
Yeah.
here I am. I just celebrated on the 21st of November my 8th birthday. With my heart out of my chest that long, I took it as a rebirth.
Right.
This is what your show, a second chance.
Yeah.
I'm legit on this one.
Straight up.
So to listen to this and then find out that they're recording it, you're becoming one of these observations of the doctor's students of how this procedure is going to work. And this gentleman, Dr. Chamey, comes in and he's just got perfect line of thinking. And he's like, this guy's got it all over. We need to give him a chance and he actually goes into a baseball reference of, you just need to get a man on base to give him an opportunity to try to heal again. But it's like, this is what we're going to do. So he had a game plan. He pulls his friends together. I'm told 2 of these 8 doctors left family vacations to come back and be a part of this surgery. And it's, they go 5-star on everything. Like, I
Mhm.
get sent away. I'm put in a hotel for the 4 more days. So now I'm somewhere around the 23rd day from the time they said that I'd have 30 days to live. So you're in a bit of a panic from this, like, I'm getting weaker by the day.
Whew.
Like, that window of a half an hour is maybe down to 10, 15 minutes. So it's like,
Let
I'm
me ask you something. Let me just stop you right there. Let me just process this real quick. This is a lot going on, and I know because you're going through this. What was you going through mind wise? You're a day 23, and they say you have 30 days. What was you thinking when you were all alone by yourself? How was you processing this? You have a family, you have a wife and kids, and what? Tell me, man. Let's go deep
At
into
that
this.
point, I didn't have any children and I was
Okay.
divorced.
Okay.
So on that side of things, it was probably a lighter burden. But I did get support with my brother and my sister. My parents came out too. They was basically thinking this was be the last time that they would see me.
Right.
So
Right.
the core support for me was there. At 51, I felt like I had given my best. I didn't have the remorse thing. What struck me was, wow, damn, that went so fast. It's like, I feel like I got more to give. Like, there's more in the tank here. And it's like, please don't let this be the end. Don't let it go down like this. But
Right.
it had overcome me physically to such a degree. I knew I had accepted that there's a chance that I could die here. So I was very real, but hopeful. And but there was a sense of, when I met Dr. Chamey, it was bizarre. I think there could have been a room of 100 doctors, and I could have interviewed all of them, and that would have been the guy I would have picked. There was something about his energy that I felt like I can trust this guy. And in this case, I had to trust with my life. So it
Right.
had to be a really strong feeling. But We actually had Dr. Chamey on my podcast, and you'll have to. His energy is he's that type of person, so you get drawn right in, and I think that level of trust and that level of hope is why I'm probably sitting here in front of you today.
So go back, because I love the way you tell the story in such great detail, because it's fascinating, especially when somebody can articulate their story so well. So go start back where they're about to start their procedure doing the surgery.
It was kind of interesting because they knew that I had cancer in my lungs too, so they couldn't do a triple operation. So the idea of the game plan that they had going in to just get the tumor out and as clean as possible was what they were really going for. It was kind of interesting because the open heart surgery part kind of freaked me out. Like I couldn't wrap my mind around, like, okay, my heart's going to be out of my chest, and then you're going to have me on a machine that's beating my heart, but where's my soul go? And I couldn't, I didn't, even now, I don't get that. Like, how does it stick around? Like, I don't know, but this is part of the miracle of what happened to me. So, when you go in there, and I felt like, I think that this can work out. So I go under, and I mean, there was a stairwell and a black drape in front of the stairwell was the last image that I would see or I would remember going out conscious. Surviving the operation on the other side, I had no idea because I was just hoping that I would. So I end up with the 102 staples across my belly. I'm basically cut like a cadaver. So I got from my sternum down like a piece under my rib cage and then cut out. So they just I got opened up like a potato. I mean,
right.
And so then
Was the tumor on the kidney itself? Or
yeah,
was
it encapsulated
okay.
the whole. It literally went around the kidney, almost like a football shape
Oh, so
thing.
it had the kidney inside of it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it believe it or not, I probably wouldn't have had any chance if it didn't encapsulate. The fact that it went into one piece was why an operation could save me. And that was how Dr. Chamey explained it to me. So it was like, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a chance here. It sounds crazy, but there's a chance.
And so that was the first part of the surgery, was to remove this tumorous kidney, and then proceed right there from there, so I can get the full detail of this, because this is fascinating.
So I go, they take the kidney out, and then the oncologists basically are relieved by the cardiologists that come in. So they basically cut, of my understanding, was like a little mini saw that just gives me cuts my sternum down, and they open up my chest cavity and then finish off removing the rest of the cancer and then taking my heart out. Now, what was really crazy, they told me that I probably was a year or two at 51 away from having a stroke. And you're like, why would you say that? And it was like, well, when we're born, we have a tiny hole in our heart. And as we grow older through our infancy and our teen years, that hole seals shut.
Right.
You have a hole in your heart about as big as a 50-cent piece.
Whoa.
And so they're like, you were headed for trouble anyhow. So they sew that up. So I get like a bonus deal. I get the cancer removed. So it was funny because looking back, I remember being in athletics in my youth about 4 different occasions where your training or your exertion was at its maximum, that I had somewhat of like a blacking out or a seizure type feeling. And it was like, all did I know? Maybe that was when that hole was getting bigger, or maybe that hole was already there that size, and that was the threshold my body could take. But I had experienced chest pain, and I'm 18 years old, 24 years old. It's like, that's not usually the kind of thing that happens, but it's amazing then. So I get the heart then taken out, put back in. I don't know how I'm going to heal, really. They have told me that out of this 7 out of the 12 hours I was put on ice in order to take my heart out of my chest and put it back in.
Yeah.
To the day, I still have pretty bad neuropathy in my feet. Like there was damage more from the operation than I think the cancer left. The cancer's just scars.
Right.
But so there's ailments that I have. I get up and I have a routine to work on that every day. But the part that gets crazy with this now is after this miraculous operation, they realize I'm going to survive. Is you still have cancer in your lung, and this is, you know how fast this cancer metastasized, and it's sort of like at this point a double hinge door. So it's like I had a whole calendar year of losing weight, not knowing what was wrong with me. I was going to go through the other side of this going, well, you've got to try to hold on, but you do know what's going on. You know you have cancer, and you know how quickly it moves, and how are you going to manage this? So the pivotal point was UCLA wanted me to stay. They wanted me to be in a clinical trial. I didn't have the resources because part of the reason I was sick was my resources and level of life collapsed. So it was like, I can't really manage staying here. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get to and from, you know, doing the trials and the testing and getting medication. So the option was I'm going to go back to Pittsburgh where my family was. And it was like, if I'm going to pass, I'd rather be around friends and family.
Right.
So biggest concern was coming back was getting hospital coverage, because now I was going out of state, and Pennsylvania didn't have the same state medicine that California did. So I got to get care on this lung as soon as possible. So it takes 90 days to get covered. And UPMC, when I contacted them, they had actually, UCLA reached out on my behalf, and they would be the best cancer care for me at Hillman. So it didn't take it. It was 90 days. So there was a mix up. I don't know exactly what happened, but they get me in there, get care, and they're like, they go and see me, and I was concerned because I didn't going to have 4 sets of eyes. I'm going to have one gentleman,
Exactly,
and I'm not sure they're going to be capable to take care of me or help me through this. So
Vince, Phil has a question right now. Go ahead, Phil.
I just want to know: did your physician state the development of the tumor on your kidney? If it did it grow rapidly, or did it grow kind of in slow stages? How did that go?
Well, the primary care doctor never diagnosed that I had cancer. And so the speed of which it grew, I think it would only have been able to have been monitored by myself in the latter stages. Like I said, that last 3 weeks, because I didn't think I was sick. And then because it was like once every 10 days, maybe 3 times in a month. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling myself. And this nice sweat stuff's kind of weird. So I went to see the doctor, but he didn't give me any indication that he knew what was wrong with me, or if he knew something inside of me was growing or not. And I didn't really start losing weight till like August, even though I was having the night sweats earlier than that.
Man, this is so when you get to, you know, you having the one set of eyes on you from the doctor, you're in this process and you still have cancer, correct, in the lungs, correct?
Yeah.
Man, this is blowing me away. Go ahead.
So I'm on this. I go, and the first doctor, he's basically a new fellow, really smart, but I think it's kind of interesting because they don't teach bedside manner in medical school. It's just a gift you either have or you don't.
That's right.
And he was highly intelligent, but he was not real sensitive on an emotional side. So his diagnosis was much like the first hospital out in Los Angeles. You're going to die in 10 months, and we don't have any medication here that can help you. So go home and get comfortable. So I was like, wow, I overcame this in this operation, and I felt like mentally like I'm not supposed to go down like this. You're going to sit here and tell me I'm going to die on the vine. And so I basically asked for another doctor, and
Smart decision.
And it was like, I need somebody who's going to have a different frame of mind on this. There's somebody I could feel good about, like Dr. Chamey. So they gave me another doctor, but it took about another 30 days. So, I mean, here we are almost 120 days out, and the cancer is mounting its attack again, because now I'm starting to lose weight. I'm starting to feel the fatigue again, and we haven't had a CT scan to see where or how much it has grown in the last 90 days or since the operation.
Did you have any relief whatsoever, like from the first surgery from UCLA? Then you moved to Pittsburgh. Did you feel yourself getting any slightly better? Like, okay, I'm recovering. I'm feeling a little bit better. Then I got
Initially, I felt really good. Like once I was able to get up and start walking, that was a long process in itself. I couldn't, after that operation with the stitches in my belly and everything, couldn't walk. Only thing I could do is make it to the bathroom to use the bathroom. I couldn't shower myself, couldn't shave, couldn't brush my teeth, couldn't sit up in bed, couldn't dress myself. Just pathetic. Like having been athletic and being body conscious in my youth, I was just mortified by that part. And I was just glad to be alive. Like I was being like, quit being a baby. You should be glad you're alive and just take what you got right now, because this too shall pass. I would be like talking to myself like that.
Right.
But back to your question with the single doctor. So I get the next doctor, and he gives me the hope that the pharmaceutical industry does have a drug out there, unlike the current situation, and we can give you this drug and when it gets approved. Now, how long it takes to get through the court system takes about another 8 months. So he gave me hope back in, I guess it would have been around May or June, that in 6-7 months you got a chance of getting this around Christmas, and that's our only shot. So I mean, it gets kind of heavy then, because the reality of what's happening, and you're in round 2 really. I was preparing that my end was near. And so in that 120-day window, I was losing weight. They would continue to give me scans, and the cancer was spreading, and it was spreading bad. Like it went out of one lung over in the other lung. At the time of which I would eventually get the medicine, which was on Christmas Eve of 2015. I had 7 ribs, my collarbone, 3 vertebrae on my back, my left femur. It went into my pancreas. It went into my other kidney. So it basically went into soft tissue and hard tissue all throughout my body. The only thing I don't believe it touched was my lymph nodes. And so I'm getting like what they're calling a local, because they're saying this whole type of time, the cancer, the radiation, chemo don't work on your type of cancer. So you're not going to go through that. So unless this drug showing up is the exact match for what I need, I'm going to die. It's like, I take the medication in a Christmas Eve, and it turns out that I have a response to it that's kind of crazy. I go in a bathroom to use the bathroom. I fall in the bathroom, bust my face open, passed out, and I'm like unconscious from the first dose of this immunology drug, which was IV. I took it in the arm, and I wind up in the intensive care. Like they immediately take me to intensive care. So I don't know what's going on, if the medicine worked or not, or if now the projection, because the 10 months had gone by, and it's like the 30 days, it's like your time is basically up. So anything can happen right now. So I was raised Catholic, and we're in the ICU, and the lady goes, do you have any requests? And I'm like, yeah, I need a priest. Get me a priest. And she's like, what? And I'm sitting there going, I don't know if I'm even going to make it out of this intensive care, because I'm in a bad shape. And so as it turns out, well, we're waiting for a priest to come, and they initially say there's not one there. Well, my mom and my dad and my sister show up. And so now they're there, and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm feeling like I need to have some Jesus up in here. And I asked for the priest. And my mom's like, oh, good. So the lady comes back, and it's like almost 40 minutes now. She goes, there's no priest in the hospital, but there's a pastor. Would you like to see her? And I said, yeah, get her up here. I said, I need anybody who's of God because we need to get this, I need a good feeling about this. And as it turns out, it's a black female pastor. And she comes in here and I grab her hand and we have a connection like immediately. And I told her, I'm like, I need the Holy Spirit to show up now.
Right.
It's like the time has come. So it's like if I'm checking out, I'm not gonna be a sad soul. I'm gonna be happy about this and I'm gonna accept it. And she heard me. And it went big. There was light in the room and there was a presence, and I could see it in my mom and my sister, my dad's face, and I could feel it coming from her. And we all had a quiet moment after that. And then she would leave. And it was just one of those shining moments where I would go on to heal, where 66 doses later, 2.5 years later, on this drug that was designed for my immune system that failed me, that it would now be strong enough to heal me. And it worked exactly like that. Looking back in that window of 2.5 years from that moment of being in that bed and sharing that with those 4 people, the Holy Spirit just is a most incredible thing. All you can do is just allow it to do its work, and the work is in the quiet. It is so powerful in the peace. You just have to just stay right there. Allow yourself to just stay there. You don't have to have any thought of anything, any judgment, any anxiety. Just be right there, and the rest is done. It's done for you. And so, I mean, this whole experience, I'm not a writer. I'm writing a book. I feel the need that it's like, if I could go that close to passing on to the next part of our journey, then it's going to provide some sort of inspiration for people that, if you keep your mind in the right place and you let your God do your healing, he lives inside you, incredible things can happen for you. And part of it is just getting out of your own way and allowing it to happen and believe.
Man.
Well, on that note, we're going to go to a quick commercial real quick, and we'll come back and answer some more questions. Welcome back to a second chance. So, my question for you, Vince, is um, did you have to do any type of pre-treatment before your surgery, like dialysis? I know you mentioned the chemo before. Is there any other type of like treatment or medication that you had to take before going through this procedure?
Yeah, I about the last week or 6 days, they had me giving myself like 2 shots a day, prepping my body for the operation. I don't know if that was I don't recall if it was the drug that would help me get rid of water because they didn't want me to dehydrate,
Oh,
and it was
Lasix.
I don't think it was less or it actually may have been, but I was prepping myself, yes, for the 6 days prior to it.
Okay.
My question. Go ahead. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
What was your reaction, your family, when you found out you had cancer and this tumor on your kidney?
Hmm. Um, I think that my sister suspected that I had cancer. She kind of had an inkling because when she saw me that December in the beginning of 2014, she thought that there was something wrong with me. And I think though my parents and my brothers, they were kind of shocked. Myself, I had the initial reaction that it couldn't be me, couldn't happen to me, but I knew based on how I was feeling and the level of stress probably more than anything because life just turned different immediately, and I wasn't prepared for that. And so I was just I think the idea of having played athletics and things in that nature where you kind of go and just get tougher, go back out there kind of thing was my mentality moving forward. It's like I can manage this. And it's funny when you're in your youth, you can because you're stronger. And it was like here, I was now 50 and I didn't have the same strength that I had when I was younger. So I didn't have the recover time.
Right.
So I knew I wasn't winning that one. So that kind of played on me different too. Um, when you don't have your physicality or your ability to manage life, like I was starting to lose my dexterity. Like somebody was my size, you don't have a hard time balancing and bending over and standing up. And these things were beginning to become a challenge. It was
Right.
like, what's wrong with me? Like, this is something's really weird's going on here. But it wasn't like, I don't know that those were considered indications of cancer. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or for whatever reason, you can get short of breath. And it's like, nothing really happened other than I was stressful in my head. But it was like, again, that's how life was rolling out for me at the moment. So I think all of that kind of stuff weighed in on weakening my immune system. So I was just kind of getting chipped away at from different angles. And I don't know. I really felt like mentally, I can stay in here. I can handle this. And it was much greater challenge than I would ever imagined.
Right. Let's go back to right after they give you this medication. What were the first signs? Because you said this cancer went like to the other kidneys, to the lungs. It started spreading. What was your first signs of, okay, this is working now? You might have got, I'm talking about from the physical standpoint. Now, the doctors might have said it was working and everything, but what was your first signs?
um, I thought initially it was like if this is working and I'm passing out and when I'm in the ICU, I can't imagine what it would have been like if it didn't work. So I don't know. I think the fact that I was kept waking up at that point, like, oh wow, I'm still alive. It's like I know where I am. It's like it's not a good situation, but I'm awake. And
Right, right,
for
right.
some reason, that I think those sort of little wins, it was
Hmm.
like as long as I keep sticking around, and when I would get well enough to get out of that ICU, my older brother Jim, he really reinforced that. He's like, "Look, you got this. You can hang on. You just hang on. He told you what's coming. You can do it." So that support right there is priceless. Because I
Yeah.
mean, on your emotional injections like that, that's what makes life worth living, but that also
Agreed.
what keeps you alive. So I couldn't be more grateful to have been in the situation to be around my family at that point.
I totally agree with that. You know, my second transplant was at John Hopkins University, and they did a documentary on it, and I had to go through plasmapheresis. And I understand what you're saying when you like you wake up and you have this glimmer of hope, and that's what you hang on, like you said. And then when you have somebody there telling you, you know, coaching you as well, like, hey man, you can do this. You know, you
Yeah.
those little small little things you keep hope and holding on to. I can totally relate to those.
Yeah.
And like you said, the small wins. Okay, I can have a bite to eat. Okay, I can walk to the bathroom and I feel my balance coming back a little bit. Okay, I can, you know, sit up today. All
Oh,
these things that people take
exactly.
for, yeah, all these things people take for granted that you are like being blessed. Like, okay, I had 2 days in a row I didn't throw up. All these things
Oh
are so, you know what I'm talking about. And so
yeah.
these things are special and you build off these small wins. We might have a setback here and there, but you build off them. And I love, you know, you telling your story like that because people don't understand sometimes that you have to fight to get these little wins. And these are the building blocks of you
Uh-huh.
getting better.
I got to share with you when I was after the operation, I had the stitches removed. They let me leave because the operation ended up at Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
So I didn't even do it at Wilshire. They transferred me again one more time. But there was one gentleman who I never knew his name, never saw him. And he was an incredible inspiration to myself. He probably didn't make it out of that hospice, but that man would get up and I had a walker. I mean, he made his way out of a wheelchair while I was there, and he had a walker. And I mean, he had way less chance of walking than myself. And for one other reason, I would see this man, and he was out and walking every day before me. And I was like, that man is motivating the hell out of me, and he don't
Right.
even know it. And it's like his spirit and his courage to get up and go. Like he has no idea. I never met him, and his actions were this incredible inspiration to me that I would eventually get to the point before I left there where I was actually just getting out of using a cane. So I was back vertical, but I mean I came in with a wheelchair and went out with a cane, and so I was grateful to see that man every day because it was like that's right, he's on it. I got to get on it, and he would go 3 times a day. I was only going twice, but he motivated me to that degree. Just it's incredible what the human spirit is capable of, and when you have the will amazing things happen. So it's like never count yourself out. Just
Right.
I mean, you don't realize because my sense of when I was really that sick in the beginning of it, I was thought to myself, wow, how low can you go? And when life begins to roll in the wrong direction on you, it could get really bad. But there is that ultimate hope and that line, as you said, holding on to it, you can turn your life around. And it doesn't matter how bad it's gotten, you can do it.
I
So,
totally agree. I totally agree with that, man. That's remarkable. That's what you said is remarkable because I feel God works through us like that. When you saw that man, you know, getting up every day doing his thing, he wasn't looking for no fanfare, but you recognize that, and that's the God in you. When you see that, and it inspires you. Like, hold on, man, this is inspiring me. Just like you know, somebody hearing your story inspires them. Like, hold on, you can do this. You can do this. And a lot of times when we're in these hospitals, no offense, we see a lot of people fall off and pass, and the
yeah,
doctors look at those situations like, oh well, you don't look like you're gonna make it. But the will to live is uncanny. No one can say what's gonna happen to you until you say it, and until you make the
exactly.
final decision. Like,
You
hey,
do.
I'm gonna be here. I got work to do. Just like you said, you had that spark, and I respect that. You know, you said, hold on, I'm not finished yet. I got some more things to accomplish here. And that's that life spark that you still have. even though it's going downhill physically, your spirit can take over and overcome these things. And I respect that, man.
You're 100% correct.
That's big. That's big.
It was. It's like I think that's like when I met Philip, and you want to extend that, because as you said, that spark is what we're all here for, and that's one thing that's unique in all of us. We're bonded together from that. So it's like we play off of each other and we don't know it, but that's how it is, and we should be grateful it's that way too.
Yeah,
because we all need help.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you said that we play off each other, because again, no, you never know who's here to do what. You never know how God is always working through some kind of angle that you never will expect. When I was at Johns Hopkins, man, I was going through all these treatments. My day looked like plasma pheresis for 2.5 hours, 4.5 hours of dialysis, and then 2.5 hours of this medicine called Cytogen, where they had to give me. And this guy, he would will me. He would will me. He was like, and he would come into that room, and this guy always was just cheerful, man. He was always happy, and hey, man, what's up? And so he would just brighten me up just to be around, and I'm going through all these things, but just seeing him and talking to him, it inspired me. Like, man, I want to get cheerful too. I need that in me. And that's that spark that he was giving me. Every time I was seeing, I'd be sick as a dog, man, coming through all these treatments and everything.
No, that's terrible, the kidney stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, man, it was vicious, man. Plasma pheresis, I did over 55 treatments. I hold the record at Johns Hopkins of doing it. And it's unlike dialysis. Plasma pheresis is painful. People don't know it's painful when it's pulling that plasma out your body. And I would see this guy, man, and he gave me that spark. And I was like, man, I want to be happy like that again. I want to be happy like that. And like you said, you never know how these pieces are being put in your face and how the play is working out. We never know, man.
Yes.
Go ahead, Phil. You know me, I can talk forever. Phil?
His mic's not, I think it's muted.
Are you muted?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So what was your reasoning for starting the Leave Your Mark podcast?
I think that it was like the reality of we all go through something that's going to change us. And it's like, mine was cancer. That's just how it had to happen for me. But there's something that's going to cut us to our core on an emotional level. And it will definitely grip you. But it's for that intended reason, to redirect you. Because it's like, you have many journeys in life that you can take. But if you take the one that's in line with your creator and allow that to form, like you hear this all the time, the best version of you. So it's like, how good could you be? Could you be a champion? Do you have it in you? And it's like, we all have it in us. And it's like, are we going to tap it? Are we going to have the will to live through what it takes to be that best version of ourselves? And I think we're in a really wonderful time right now in this information era and this ability to share. You said you were in Tampa, you're in California, I'm in Pittsburgh. And it's like, look at what we get to come together and co-create here. The paths and the journeys that each of the three of us have gone through, but to share here and create a voice. And others that have had that emotional core struck, they can relate to our conversation, even if they didn't have the cancer or the issue with the kidney. Theirs may have come a different way, of a loss of a child, or loss of a parent or somebody who is dear to them. And it's like, it's really incredible to me how that which we hold a great value to, that if it is taken with us, it's replaced with something that's better. And that's kind of hard. I think it's a human thing to, the fear of loss is greater than the fear of gain. And if you trust your creator in that, losing the fear of gain, you have so much more to become internally, as well as what you have to offer externally to those that are watching, those that are getting inspired. And this is an incredible life, but you want to play it in harmony. You don't want to swim upstream your whole life. You want to go with it, go
That's it.
downstream and feel
That's
the
it.
power of this world and know you're riding it and you're in flow with this world. And it's such a great experience. It's like, you don't have to try so hard. It's like, what do you mean I don't have to try so hard to receive the best part of life? No, you don't. That's the truth of it. You
I
don't.
agree. I agree. Like you said something that was really powerful right there. You said, go with the flow of life. Quit going against the current. I believe in that. I'm a big person of that. You know, another thing you talked about is staying present. You know, sometimes when we get quiet, you know, when I do my meditations in the morning, I just get quiet and I listen, you know, and it takes time. It takes time to practice this. You know, it took me over a year to be quiet and just start listening. And you'll start hearing where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. But it takes practice. It takes practice.
Oh
And
yeah.
sometimes we're getting a lot of information, a lot of noise everywhere. And sometimes you have to learn how to quiet that noise down to find out where your center is and go with the flow. And I agree with that. It doesn't have to be that hard. You can just go with the flow. Vince, you're on to something right there. That's big. That's big.
I'm gonna take a quick step back, and then we'll wrap up. Um, did they give you the reason why you developed cancer in your kidney?
The causes of it were primarily diet, was what I was told initially, which I could believe that, because like I said, my situation got pretty desperate, and I wasn't eating the best. And it may not have been the reason for it, but it was a contributing factor. You know, you end up eating what you can afford, not what your body wants. And that eventually leads to bad things too, when you got the stress and the other things going on. Um, I just really felt like it was a part of life that probably was intended to have happen to me in order for me to be, you know, where I'm supposed to be heading or experiencing that better quality of life. Because it's like, I always felt like I was on the right path, but I really wasn't. It was more of a selfish thing. It's kind of like we do inner and outer work. It's like when we're alone, we can do our inner work and work on ourselves and what we experience and think about, things that influenced us or meant something or we had stronger feelings about. But like when we go out and we're amongst other people, it's not about you anymore. That's where you're going to get your lesson. It's who's in front of you and what they say. Because like he mentioned earlier about, you can learn anything from anybody. I don't like rule out a child or an old person. Anybody is capable of feeding you what your creator wants your ears to hear. And when you're referencing being present, again, life takes on a different level of meaning. You're picking up these little treasures every day that just fill you up. And that money can't buy that stuff. Money doesn't buy wisdom. It's like experience creates wisdom. And when you begin to take life where, hey, what's next? Who's going to send me the next message that's going to help me where I need to go next? And when you go in more of like you're in a seeking mode and you're enjoying this, again, your energy is different. What you attract's different. You don't experience anxiety and stress. Those things kind of just roll off your back. So your mindset is really everything. And in my case, to start this podcast, I realized that was a mindset shift for me. And that cutting to the core, and it was like, okay, let's get other people on here who've had these experiences that were misfortunate and how they recovered from it and what they did. And it's turned into something at this point that I feel privileged to be able to talk about. And after going through what I did, I feel like I'm qualified to talk about it.
Oh, you
So
are.
that was a big deal for me. I mean, my career, I was a brick and mortar guy. So I'm closing in on 60 here now. The 10 years went by just trying to get through this cancer. So life happens quickly. But it's like it's a different world here from 1989 to 2022 for me.
Yeah.
When my career really started. I mean, the introducing of artificial intelligence in the world we live in now with e-commerce, I beyond getting a second chance at life, I'm getting a second chance at a career, because with the computers, they enable me to have an opportunity at. So it's like I'm seizing the moment. It's like I mentioned, I felt like I had more to give, and this podcast helps me get that opportunity to give more. So it's like I'm gonna do it, and it's like it feels good to be on here with people like yourselves and share it like this.
Yeah. What a story, and what a fascinating. You're a fascinating gentleman. Thank you for letting me interview you and hear your story, and I love the way you articulate it. And I'm definitely going to tune in to leave your mark with you, Vince, for sure, man.
Thank
And
you.
I wouldn't mind getting an interview from you as well, hearing my story, because I
Yeah,
have
that
one
sounds
for
like a
you.
good idea. We need to
Yeah.
get Debbie over there, Philip. We get Debbie in touch with him.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, since your podcast is called Leave Your Mark, we want you to leave your mark on a second chance and just give 2 or 3 minute words of encouragement to somebody that just received that devastating news of cancer, organ failure. They might have lost their job, homelessness, anything like that. Give them some words of encouragement to help them on their next journey.
Oh man, that's a good one. I would say don't quit on yourself. You're much more powerful than you know, and allow that which is in you to come out of you, and just keep that hope, because incredible things can happen. And I promise you, if you allow that to go through you, you'll experience those incredible things.
Awesome,
Wonderful, man.
awesome.
Wonderful. Yes.
Appreciate that. Thank you again, Vince, for joining us. You can check Vince out at Leave Your Mark podcast. The information is on the screen. He also has like I said, it's a website there as well, leaveyourmarkvc.com. Tune in to him, check him out. Great show. We'll be back on Friday. We're doing a nutritional webinar, um, 2-part webinar. One part will be how to substitute your food for plant-based foods, and then a diet for low potassium, low phosphorus patients on the other side. So tune in next Friday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, and we'll see you all on Friday. Everybody have a great night.
Thanks for being on. It was an honor. You guys were great.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
man.
you.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you.